All right, welcome back. And if you just joined us, this is To The Press, coming to you live from the Abuja studios of KAFTAN Television. And now we've been joined by our very own friend of the house, Duke Alamboye, and he's a policy analyst. Together, we shall be taking a look at the headlines that we just read out to you. And this is also a reminder that our phone lines will now be open for you to call and join the conversation. Thank you so much for joining us on the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you doing today?
I'm fine.
It's great to have you on the show.
We are celebrating Democracy Day, I think, in continuity.
Now you sound like Annabel, because Annabel always has a reason to say this is the day or 24 hours morning after something. Yeah. 24 hours after something. Okay, yesterday was the National Assembly inauguration, and we saw the emergence of Senator Godswill Akpabio as the leader of the House of the Senate, and we also saw Abbas emerge as the Speaker of the House. How did you see, or were you expecting this result the way it turned out?
Well, on my expectations, I'm one of the persons that glamour that it should be shifted to the north. But I think I also advocated for independence of the legislation. So yesterday, what we saw was real democracy in the House. The senators were left alone to do their job, and I think the two competitors were very tight. They were very good persons to their standards, and the outcome is good and favorable for Nigerians. Well, we hope that they do all the preaching they said yesterday, but it's a nice one, and we continue in that light.
Now, lots of people have come out to say that, like Annabel said, some people have called them Tinubu's boys, and some people have been of the opinion that they were not elected, either they were selected.
Yeah, these are the throwback or the fallback of when party begins to interfere. Yeah, this is where my line of argument in so many fora that I appear to speak on these issues. I've said that the party made a fundamental mistake, an initial mistake, by making public their desired candidate. The party would have just zoned to a particular zone and leave it at that, and then use the instrument of lobby to talk into the legislation. So now that Akpabio has emerged and he was the preferred candidate of the party, it is still in perception that well, they've lobbied for him. He was a good candidate in contending with Yari, so there was no need for anybody to intervene. There were two strong legislators that would have fought the fight in-house. So if the party had even wanted to take a stance to shifting it to a particular zone, they would have just left it at that without pointing fingers at anybody. So you can see people begin to still feel that it was manipulated, and that this is what the executive government wants, the executive arm of government want, and indeed they've gotten it, and like the parley they want to still put in to govern the nation. But if this parley is going to be productive and positive for the growth of internal democracy and progressiveness of our economy, then so be it, is fine. We don't have an issue with it. Like the Senate President immediately has sat and fend to Nigerians that we are going to have a 10th assembly that is going to be independent, lawful in their duties, but he didn't mention the oversight functions they're going to carry out. This is where we really talk about rubber stamp of the assembly, not really in lawmaking. The aspect of, or that aspect of the job that concerns oversight, checkmating the essence of the executive. This is where Nigerians want to see the legislators. They've made laws, they've appropriated bills, they've assigned monies to financial implications to various amounts of projects, but the ability to checkmate, follow up those projects are done in accordance with law and lawfully done with quality and quality execution. This is where the crux of the matter is. But again, he said so many things, and he has promised Nigerians, that is as the Senate President, that we're going to see a different 10th assembly. He has been in the House. One thing I thank God Almighty again is our country is beginning to understand the dynamics of governance, internal governance. The President presently had been in the Senate, so there's nothing you're going to tell you about legislation. He has also served as governor, which is at the executive arm. So you can see, without promising Nigerians all the lofty promises, you can see the President tapping on those things that are detrimental to the economy. So we hope that the Senate will sit tight and ensure that they follow the tune of the presidency, correct where it is not right, oppose and support where necessary. I think this is what we expect from them, so that insinuation people largely believe, you're correct, people largely believe that, oh, this is what the presidency wanted, and they've gone to do the bid of the presidency. But I can also take it away from there. Akpabio and Yari were two contenders in-house. They were very firm contenders. You could see the margin up to 7 or so. So it wasn't a big margin. For even Yari to score up to 70-something votes, it means that is about 30 to 40% of membership of the house. So it's not a person to be thrown away. Rather, they should embrace themselves. I saw when he went to embrace the victor of yesterday's legislative vote, and I think they should work on it, and so that we can actually have a befitting 10th legislation to move the country forward.
Right, and so you've actually mentioned quite the number of things, but then here on the taking a cue from where you landed and all that you said, here on the Vanguard newspaper says Akpabio polls 63 votes to beat Yari for the 6 to emerge as the Senate president. Now, did you actually see that coming for Yari clinching all of that votes? That's one.
I can tell you, I don't want to. I'd
like you to please wait. I'm going to ask you 2 questions now. I'd like you to unbundle them in one breath, right, since you made this statement. So I'm going to take them out from what you said. So did you actually see him clinch all that votes? That's one on the side. And then Senator Akpabio has come out to extend the olive branch. Do you see other contenders actually sticking to that olive branch? That's 2. And then the third one, now you talked about rubber stamp. We understand the fact that a lot of people will say that, we remind you how much the 9th Assembly enjoyed a very good relationship between that's the legislators and the executive. So do you see that happening in the 10th Assembly? That's if you're talking about the principles of checks and balances, do you see that playing out in the 10th Assembly, or you just have the very dramatic 8th Assembly? Okay,
first of all, let me take you on the elections. The elections were done very transparently, and for the first time in the history of Nigeria, again, we are seeing a very transparent election, and that is, in my own opinion, to checkmate that senators do the bid of where they're coming from. Now, be it as it may, that could also be perceived as speculation. Akpabio had won. We are in it that they allowed the secret ballot, the way they used to vote, their secret ballot. I see Yari even pulling up more than Akpabio. I see Yari emerging.
Oh, really?
Yes, that is true. So they also managed the voting process to ensure that what has been said or what has been organized behind, and that's at party level, prevail. If you remove that, I was so sure that Akpabio was a good contender. Any of the votes, Akpabio and Yari, would have emerged. But the influence on party members, especially the APC party senators, was necessitated. That was what necessitated that open voting you saw that happened in the legislation. It's a leap we are going to take from them. We are learning from them. When it comes to other elections, we will insist that is the way the election should go. Then, in terms of olive branch, I expect Yari to take the defeat and don't take it to heart. It's something that is supposed to happen. His party spoke their candidate ab initio. He fought very well, not minding that shouldn't be the way, and this is the victory of democracy. He should tool down and ensure that he joins hands with Senator Akpabio and other leaders of the House to move the 10th Assembly forward. Rubber stamp assembly. You heard when Senator Akpabio also affirmed that, confirmed rather, that the 9th Assembly was sort of a rubber stamp assembly. Now, when we say the assembly is rubber stamp to the executive, does not mean that they don't have cordiality. What we're saying is that when a policy or a drive or a project of government is not pro people, pro unity, pro security, the legislation should quickly raise its feet to say this contradicts the Constitution. And that's why I asked the question. Now, do you see that when they do that? Sorry, I'm coming. When they do that, let's check on Guardian newspaper that says that called them Tinubu's boys. So if you have that happening, yes, Tinubu boys. Of course, every senator for the fact that they are majority, APC senators are majority in the House, it makes all of them Tinubu boys. That is the truth. But in content, they are Nigerian legislators. Immediately they took the oath, or they took the certificate, they became Nigerian legislators. But let's even streamline it to the public opinion that they are Tinubu boys. Tinubu boys here is ambiguous. Now, if they are Tinubu boys and they are set to do the wish of the Nigerian people, we are good with it. Tinubu, as today we see the president, Tinubu today we see, with his few steps he's taking, we are beginning to perceive that it's going to be better than the President Muhammad Buhari's administration. Is without making so much promises, pitching on toes, trying to free the economy with those ties, people that have tied the economy to their whims and caprices, is beginning to losing them a little, so that he can have leverage to do his job. So if a legislator that is leading the legislation, Senate President, to the matter of Senate President, is his boys that will do the bid of nation building, then there's no problem.
Really doesn't matter.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So where we don't want them to connive or become his boys or stools, there are some boys that the leaders even rely on them for positivity. So we want to see, if Akpabio is Tinubu's boy, want to see him use that is stewardship for the betterment of the administration.
But do you think the boy can actually demand accountability from his boss?
This is where it becomes a problem.
Because
so the office, this is where it becomes a problem. The office, I hammered on this, I think on this program, on Joy Asonye's program, I hammered on it, and I was so insistent that, look, the party and the executive should remove themselves from this. Akpabio himself is strong, good enough. Yari himself is strong, good enough, and coincidentally, they are from the same political party. Anybody that won would have still been the property of the government, property of Nigerian legislation. So there was no need. See, now that Akpabio has won, the perception will be higher in the negative side, because people will see, oh,
there was some
support from him, and this man is going to do their bid. Again, Nigerians are very vigilant. To his statement yesterday, he stood before Nigerians and vowed that they were going to be a better assembly. He insisted that they are not going to be rubber stamp. Rubber stamp here means they are going to vehemently oppose executions, projections that are not in conformity with law. So are we going to see him stand to that and not be perceived as, oh, we supported you as a party, as an executive to come on board. Today you're projecting us in the light of bad side of the light. This is where it will contradict. But I can tell you that they would have allowed the process to be quite totally independent, so that when those oversight functions click itself or spark itself, the country feeling will know that who amongst these people is in the right direction. The fundamental duty of the legislation is to make laws, modern laws, laws that conforms to present practice. The constitution is ailing, so we expect a lot of changes in several areas that will suit whatever thing that will be done for progression. In considering that, we know that there are Buddhists, there are people that want to always see that they control the government, and in controlling the government want to go above the law. Can Senator Akpabio and the present team stand to it? This is the $1 million question Nigerians will be asking and waiting to see.
All right, so before we leave that report or that headline, now you saw where the ex-militant that's or Niger Delta activist, that's Asari Dokubo, said that the Igbos will continue to cry. Asari Dokubo says this hours after Akpabio's victory, and then we also saw a particular statement made by a stakeholder, one of the members of the House of Representatives, saying that did you realize that Igbos do not have any position, whether in from the executive or even at the National Assembly? Do you actually think that we should be making this, seeing things this way, or it should be about competence? Because some people will remind you that even this tussle, this leadership tussle at the National Assembly was based on money moves, was based on religion or ethnicity.
Yes, I could remember last week I was on a rise, and I still told this same question you asked, and I still told what's his name, Rufai. I still told Rufai the same thing when he was asking me, when I was saying, look, we have three arms of the legislation, three arms of government: the executive, legislation, and the judiciary. Presently, the legislation is the executive is in the south, the judiciary is in the south. It will just be fair that the legislation taken to the north, and my projection was that the CGN tenure will soon expire. When that expires, they should take it to the southeastern part of Nigeria. It creates that balance. See, you cannot take away what is happening in our country, but when you streamline it, and he streamlined it to, oh, do I want Hausa man as number one, Hausa man and number two? But of course, there is no way you will cede something, a role, a position to the north, throw it to the north, and it could easily get to a Christian. It's not possible. There's a fundamental mistake that has happened, allowing a Muslim ticket to exist in this country. So we are going to throw that mistake for good. I'm emphasizing, it's a mistake. The balance would have been Christian, Muslim, so that every consideration balances. If you're taking it to the north, you're not saying Muslim. You're taking it to the south. But now,
isn't that the reason why they microzoned this position in the National Assembly?
Microzoning, first of all, zoning it even to the south was not correct. It will create imbalance. Look at what Asari Dokubo is saying, Chief Asari Dokubo is saying. There is a part of the country that is crime marginalization. So if you want to bring any position to the south, the first people to be considered are the southeastern people. That is, if you're bringing any position to the south now, I'm a south man. But with all fairness, if anything must come to the south now, it should be the Igbo. So they still have a chance. The CGN tenure will expire. The president and his team should sit down and see how they can pacify the southeastern part of Nigeria. It's true. 8 years of marginalization. This is the starting tenure. Even though I know that they've not been able to put their house in order to support firmly a government to emerge. When I say holistically, that this was their voice. We saw the Northerners, governors, stakeholders in the north cry to say, let power go to the south. We all made it clear. That is how they support a system. We saw immediately Tinubu, as at that time, emerged as the flag bearer of the APC. We saw how even all the Yorubas, what they call them, is it Afenifere?
Yes,
the leaders stood down and supported their own. So we need this kind of synergy from the eastern part of this country, so that their cry could be heard for once.
All right, let's quickly take this call. Hello, good morning.
Hello.
Good morning.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning, sir.
I'm saying the studio.
Please tell us your name and where you're calling us from.
I'm from Akwa Ibom State. I'm in the Central Docker.
All right, go ahead. You have 1 minute.
Okay, I want to straight out some certain things there. Fabio is an in-law to the southeast. You they say that Fabio is they're supposed to move it to southeast. It's not south. Fabio is good in the south, and his in-law. In our side, what we do by in-law is a relation between the person that married and the other one that are the same. So Agbade would definitely do something to maybe to the southeast also, and also to south. So he represents the two areas. So that is what I want to put it there.
All right, thank you.
Say because of this, because of south. Because to come from south, it will not. They neglected the service. It's not so.
All right, very well taken. Thank you so much for that contribution.
Okay, based on where you landed, I want to say something. So what you're saying is now Igbos are crying, or Southeasterners are crying, give us power. But like they say, power is not given. It is, you have to take it. So they're not ready to take power, but they want it to be given to them.
Yes, what I know about politics, what I've come to understand about politics is that there are always synergy, and people don't forget the strength of that synergy that led to victory. We saw, if you analyze the victory of the presidential election, the eastern part of the country gave it to their own. That is Peter Obi. It was quite clear. But that is not good enough to marginalize them from the proceeds or the. Of course, there are still some southeastern leaders gave 25% or whatever from all the just that they didn't win. But once a government is formed, I want to pray that nobody talks about who didn't vote and we voted for us. It should be all encompassing. You're president of the nation, you're senate president, you're legislating, making laws for the country, not for who voted for you and who didn't vote for you. But I know that it is not magical. It is quite in order that people will begin to concentrate on the people that gave them support. Don't forget, the government is also going to position itself for the second tenure. So they are checkmating, they are going to please those people that gave them those level of support before considering others. So these are the technicalities around all these things we do. But again, I want to emphasize, they can make it better by correcting the ills and the feelings of Nigerians. It is true, fundamentally true, please, that this eastern part of the country have been in a league in terms of political appointments, mostly to the juicy appointments. So they should be considered, so that it will also beef up their participation in wherever they are. It will beef up the confidence of the Easterners that are even supporting the APC in their bid, or the ruling class in their bid. So they should balance all of this. In all fairness, if I were supporting the Senate President to come to the southern part of Nigeria, I would have supported, I would have pleaded, I would have advocated for a southeastern senator. But I was not even of the opinion that it should go to the south. I was in the opinion that it should go to the north. Let us not dwell on the mistakes of President Muhammad Buhari.
Because I was going to remind you where he stated that I'm for everybody, I'm for nobody. But then again, we heard that I cannot leave the people that supported me and then go to leave those that did not support me.
So these are the intrigues. These are the intrigues. We should take those records behind us and see how we can focus and really advocate for what is right. Some people have argued in some quarters that, oh, when President Buhari was here, part of positions were there, here, so we tend to bring it in. No, we cried. We saw the level of marginalization and we cried. So all service chiefs were Northerners. So please, I'm pleading again, this government should sit tight and see how they can bring that federal character, policy or act that we used to have. Let it roll round. Let's forget about who did this and who didn't do it. My dear, presidential election took place in the east. If we go back to the records, people came out and voted for the APC.
Yes.
So that you didn't win there is not enough to say you have to place them behind schedules.
Right.
We should be at the level of schedules, be carried along, so that, because if we don't do that, unrest will start again, agitations will start again.
Right.
So I'm sure that the president we have today is very, very intelligent not to allow that kind of a thing happen. So he should not allow people to pressure him to sideline any part of the country. It's not religion. The Constitution is not talking about religion. The Constitution is talking about everybody. Inclusive, everybody.
All right, since he has already stated that he's going to govern and not rule, and he's going to govern based on constitution and rule of law.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that federal character principles and the tenets of the constitution from section 14, 2 and 3 actually plays out.
Yes,
let's leave National Assembly issues and move straight to other stories. Our time is fast spent. The Vanguard newspaper says some Nigerian returnees from Libya came without kidneys and bowels. That's ascribed to NAPTIP. So what are your thoughts on this? We still have people, is it that they were stolen or they sold them and then you came back with no kidney or one kidney? Do you still have people like this?
Well, this is quite laughable, but I don't know. Is there any? I don't know the process the removal of kidney. I don't know. I had done kidney operation, but I don't know. I was not aware during the operation period, but I was aware. I filled my form. I was in India. I felt everything. I got my guarantor before my kidney was operated upon. So what I'm emphasizing here is consent. I don't want to believe that Yes, I don't want to believe that nobody knows when they took his or her kidney, most especially when you're not even approaching a kidney operating off a hospital. Nobody will walk into an hospital and say you have kidney issues. And the process of removing kidney is not easy. The operation done on me was 4 hours plus. Just the operation. I'm not even talking about preparation. The time they cut me open to the time they finished my operation, just renal removal, removing on stones alone, 4 hours. To talk about removing a whole organ and then making all the patches and whatever to the way creation. So it's not magic. So people give their consent for removal of their organs. So that aspect, I don't want to say that people didn't know. Everybody that have lost their kidney,
they had an idea.
They had an idea of how they lost it. But to what effect? How was the hardship level that one could go to that extent of selling their kidney? So I think, again, it comes back to the legislation. I think we need deliberate policies in the African Union. We need deliberate policies. When these things want to happen, maybe they should have, but of course, everybody have his fundamental right. If today I want to say, I can cut my hand, do I really need to take permission from anybody? But it becomes societal disturbances.
Because where your right starts, someone else's right ends.
So, but it becomes societal disturbances or concern when in a community of 300, we begin to see everybody hands, about 200 persons hands cut off. So it creates concerns. That is why we are discussing these issues, because at what level will a Nigerian relegate herself to removal of kidney or sale of kidney, and how much? What is the sustainability? What do you intend to do with it that you wouldn't have done growing within the ranks?
Okay, you just made mention of coming up with policy, but I want to ask you this because I want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah.
This whole Japa craze, do you think it's about the economic hardship or it's just the mindset?
Yeah, it's economic hardship because first of all, nobody has sat down to say, is in my mindset that I should go and remove my kidney.
No, I'm talking about the whole Japa thing, because lots of people feel like they will not even make it here in Nigeria unless that their destiny is outside. So there's nothing
outside can be anywhere.
There's nothing try to convince them that will make them want to stay. Yes. They just want to leave.
Yes, that is why I first of all placed it in economy.
Okay.
Values. Before I decide to trade, it also goes in line with a prostitution. Before a girl decides to say, the only way I can make myself comfortable in advancement of my dreams and aspirations is going into this, and after her calculations, she knows that she will get it right. The same thing. So it starts with economic survival. People thinking of how, where, and when to survive. When the thoughts comes to mind, the next thing that comes to mind is at what cost. And if the cost available to them is selling off organs, and then of course they can travel out to get it easily done in safety and maybe good measures, that is value for exchange, you see people begin to consent to it. That is where, what you call it, begins to come in. Mindset begins to come in. You begin to check your mind. Am I really going to give in for this? What are the chances? So that is where mindset comes in. So because I know that nobody can sit down doing well or having a brighter future in somewhere, beginning to think of how to sell his or her organs for survival. So basically, they do all of this for survival. So when you japa from Nigeria, and your sole aim is when you go, you sell your most. But I'm even worried. The people are not selling all that in except kidney, and balance because God has provided two. But the eyes are two. I've not seen people selling one of their eyes. I've not seen people selling one of their ears. Yes. You understand? So they decide to go and tamper with their system for survival. I think this should be disabused, and we need to get a collaboration with these nations that are in all of this and begin to talk it out. That's why I said international policies will play. These countries that accept this from our citizens for survival, we remove subsidy from fuel importation or sales, and then a country, I forgot the country, is it Ghana or one country, became aggrieved, and that is to tell that they were
enjoying
illegal beneficial this thing contracts going on. So it's not just today. Now the total number of consumption for fuel had reduced. Now the country is beginning to know that those bogus vigors they are talking about can actually be produced in Nigeria. We are consumable. That is, our industries, if they put our refineries, if put to use, can actually produce what we can use. But the perception has been that we are using more. So therefore, our if we even invest in refining, reconstructing or renovating our refineries, we will not even produce what we can consume.
All right.
So now that subsidy is taken away, you can see that we are aware that we even reduce, we even take less. So these are the circumstances around it all. And but I quickly want to disagree with that even mindset to selling out one's organ. Is
all right,
so whatever situation.
Let's take our last story from the foreign scene. If you can help us in 1 minute, our time is fast spent. 1 minute. Ex-US President Trump arrested, faces trial. So I'm wondering if this happens in Africa, or Nigeria, you have people who would always come out to send their backlash or tell you how unconstitutional, how illegal it is. We saw how the CBN governor was whisked away by the DSS, and then up until now you have people come out to say that that he still has immunity, and then have so many excuses around it. So what are your thoughts on this?
Well, we are traditionalists. I think our tradition is now allowing so many things, but I want to see Africans, not only Nigeria, I won't limit it to Nigeria. I want to see African leaders pursuing their leaders that didn't do well, because it will help the continent. If they begin to imbibe that at the continental level, every president, every leader found in every square, my dear, we've seen someone resigned. I've forgotten her name. She's in the financial sector. Okay. Is it I think in Obasanjo's regime. She resigned. She's in the international scene in financial. Yes, she's doing very well. These are people that have integrity. They don't want to stain their reputation, what they've built for a while. So she resigned. So we want to see people. If I were Emefiele, I would have even resigned. I don't know the magic he was expecting. So it should be brought to fore. It should be dealt with in accordance with the law. We are going to pursue it and see that it should be used as a test case. If what he did was constitutional, it should be freed. If not, it should be dealt with. Let it be a detriment and example to other leaders. All
right, great. Thank you so much, Duke Alamboye. It's always a pleasure having this talk with you.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.